it's Mo. I want to start a new project. It is the beginning of April, and you may have noticed these books sitting here for quite a while in the background of many videos. And this is a project that I've already kind of conceptualized in my head and started putting books aside for, and that is a giant try a chapter project. I waited to do this project until after I had finished my Read What You Own. I finished my Read What You Own challenge that went from November 2025 until March 2026. So now we are in April 2026 and it's time to start something new. The Read What You Own challenge is designed to help you read what you own. It's designed to pare down your physical TBR, right? Or your digital TBR or your audio TBR. But for me, it's always going to be physical. This is a challenge that I want to do that will pare that down as well. I've done many try chapters before. Usually I'll pick 4 or 5 books on a theme and I'll try a chapter of each and I'll see if I want to continue reading them. As you may know, I have a lot of books on my TBR. I have over 1,000 books on my physical TBR. I have 1,000 unread books, more than 1,000 unread books in my house. I went through the majority of those books. I have to say I did not do every single one of those books, but I went through the majority and I identified books that I'm just not sure if I'm going to be interested in. I'm just not sure if I want to read anymore. Now, I don't know what this project is going to look like as far as videos, although I will take you along with me. I might just do them in my weekly wrap-ups if I try some chapters, or I might try chapters along the way and then take clips of them and do one a month. Like that would probably be the most ideal. But I want to go through the books that I've isolated, try a chapter, and if I'm still interested in them, put them on some kind of priority reading list and try to get them read, or if I'm not still interested in them, get rid of them and unhaul them. Today, we're just talking about what the possibilities of this challenge is going to be, and my only goal for this is to get through all the books that I've pulled aside in this pile this year. So I want to try a chapter of every book that I have in this pile this year and identify whether I'm going to keep it or whether I'm going to unhaul it. Hopefully, with the ones that I'm going to keep, try to prioritize reading them soon. So I guess what we should do now is just go through this entire pile and see how many books I have here. I don't know what a lot of these are about, so I will give you a very, very brief introduction of them, but I'm not going to go through like a full synopsis or anything. The Confession of Mycroft Holmes by Marcel Theroux. This is a Sherlock Holmes centric novel. I think I'm going to want to keep this, but I'm trying to pare down my Sherlock Holmes books, so I have a little stack of Sherlock Holmes books that could maybe work all in one video. Another one of those is The Italian Secretary by Caleb Carr. Again, a Sherlock Holmes type or style or a novel with Sherlock Holmes in it. A Study in Charlotte is a Sherlock Holmes adjacent novel that is a middle grade by Brittany Cavallero. Blonde Roots by Bernardine Evaristo was actually on my TBR spin and it got kicked off, and it's a middle grade book. A lot of these books are going to be middle grade and YA. I just don't think I want to read this. It sounds really interesting. I'm currently reading another Bernardine Evaristo book, so it's a possibility that I will want to read it, but we'll see. Z, a novel of Zelda Fitzgerald by Therese Ann Fowler, is a fictional book about Zelda Fitzgerald, the wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is like an impulse purchase that I got at a used book sale. I think there's going to be quite a few of those on this stack. I don't know. I just picked it up, but I don't think I really want to read it. On Beauty by Zadie Smith is a book that I did really want to read because it is a retelling of Howard's End, I think. But I don't know. I don't think Zadie Smith is going to be for me. I need to try it and find out. The Yellow Wife is another one of those impulse buys. I've heard only good things about this book by Sadiqa Johnson, but it's a novel of, I think, slavery and enslaved people marrying slave owners. It is written by a Black author, so hopefully it's handled well. I just don't know if I'm going to want to read it, so we'll have to see. Vladimir by Julia May Jonas is another impulse pick. I got this quite a few years ago. Everybody was buzzing about it, but it's about an older woman having an affair with a young student, and I just don't know if that's really for me. What are you doing? You touching my toes? You're crazy. Gothic Town by Emily Carpenter. I think it's like a dark romance, fantasy romance maybe. I won this in a Goodreads giveaway and I just don't know if it's for me. It was one of those ones that I entered and I was like, yeah, I'll totally read that. I think there's something about it, like maybe I think it's like Southern Gothic or something. There was something about it that made me want to read it, but I don't know if I still want to. How to Find Love in a Bookshop was an impulse buy. I actually think I thought this was a nonfiction, but it's really a fiction. It's kind of like a woman's story, a woman's novel. Not sure if I'm going to want to read that one. A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing by Amira McBride and How to Find Love in a Bookshop were actually books that I got in 2026. This I thought was a different book. So I did pick this up from a used library sale. What book did I think this was? I thought it was like a Frankenstein retelling. It's not that. So I don't know if I really want to read this one. Permanent Record I got at Goodwill. This is a young adult novel by Mary H.K. Choi. I don't know if I'm going to want to read this. I do love her covers. I think she also did Yoke, which also has a beautiful cover. Ow! What are you doing? Oh my god. Somebody's getting me under there. Somebody's getting me. What are you getting me? What are you getting me, you snake? You snake. Fruit of a Drunken Tree. This is a great cover. I love this cover so much. I think I got this at the library book sale. I honestly have no idea what this is about. I am kind of interested in it, but I never reach for it. By Ingrid Rojas Contreras. Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I actually tried to read. I don't think this is for me. I just don't think this is a book that I'm gonna like. The Velvet Rage, Overcoming the Pain of Growing Up Gay in a Straight Man's World. I don't know if this is propaganda. Like, I don't know if this is a good gay book or like a not good gay book. I do need to give it a try and see if I want to read it. My Monticello by Jocelyn Nicole Johnson is a young adult novel, and again, I believe it's about like slavery and enslaved people and has some really interesting themes. I've heard really good things about it. It's really just on this list because it's a young adult novel. The Leftover Woman by Jean Kwok. This is an autographed copy I got impulsively at a library sale. This one actually seems interesting to me, but I've never really heard anybody talk about it, so I do want to give it a try. I just don't know when I would if I didn't put it in this project. Checkout 19, I actually picked up one of my Ohio trips. This is by Claire Louise Bennett. This is another one that I never reach for. I've heard good things about it. I think Rick McDonnell likes this author, so I am interested to try it. I don't know if it'll be for me. A Touch of Darkness I picked up from a little free library. Again, I think this is like a dark romance or romantic fantasy, and again, I think this has something to do with the South, or maybe it's a Hades and Persephone retelling. I don't know what it has to do with exactly. Why did I pick this up? Who knows? A Touch of Darkness is by Scarlett Sinclair. Foul is Fair by Hannah Kaplan is a young adult novel, but this has something to do with Shakespeare, which is why I picked it up. When am I going to read a young adult novel? I don't know. Same with Grace Year by Kim Leggett. I picked this up because I think it's compared to The Water Cure, except this is a young adult dystopian novel. I don't think I'm going to be into this one, but let's give it a try before I get rid of it. Idaho, impulse purchase, literally have no idea what this is about. How I Live Now by Meg Rossoff, I kind of got because I have another book by this title. I didn't think it was the same book or anything, but I was just like, oh, that's fun. Maybe I'll read all books with the same title. But this is a young adult novel. I don't know when I would ever get to it. The Lost Night by Andrea Bartz. I read a short story by Andrea Bartz. I believe she is a domestic thriller, semi-horror writer. I really liked that short story I read, so I picked this one up. When am I going to get to it though? This is not the kind of book that I normally read. And the thing about that short story was that it was queer, which is what made it so appealing. This is also signed copy though, which is cool. The Alternatives by Carolyn Hughes. Impulse purchase. I did see somebody really like this who I like on BookTube. I can't remember who that person was. I have no idea what this is about. Black Woods Blue Sky. I don't know how to pronounce this name. By You and Ivy, maybe? I've heard good things about it. I think Simon Savage really liked this, but this is a particular brand of like whimsical, almost fairy tale retelling that I barely ever read. So when am I going to pick it up? The Bodyguard by Catherine Sender was a book that I was so excited to find 4 or 5 years ago when I first found it, because I was really excited to read this because it's a little bit of a gender swap where the bodyguard is the woman in this relationship. But now I'm really sick of reading straight romances. I don't really read straight romances that much. Hence, like, these books too, where I'm like, am I ever going to read these straight romances? I don't know. So I should just try a chapter and find out. The Wedding People by Alison Espak is a very well-loved book. I think think it won the Goodreads Choice Award for something or other. I guess I got sucked in by the hype of this one. I found it in a little free library, so I was like, well, I might as well try it. And I think I need to try a chapter and see if I want to actually read it or get rid of it. Otaku by Chris Clue is a young adult sci-fi novel, and it was put out by Tor. I got this one at the Goodwill. I don't know what it's about, but I picked it up because it was from Tor, so I should try a chapter. Similarly, this one, Free Chocolate. I'm not sure if this is a young adult novel. It certainly looks like a young adult novel. Space opera meets soap opera in galactic war to control Earth's greatest export. So I assume the greatest export is chocolate. I'm going to say this is a young adult novel. It's a sci-fi. That's all I know about it. I don't think this book is for me, so let's try a chapter and find out. The Hollow Kind by Andy Davidson. I've actually tried to read this one a couple of times, and it's like about a woman and her son and a man comes or something. It's borderline horror, definitely mystery, I think. Do I really want to read more horror mystery from men? I don't know. Thistlefoot, I picked up. I had this on my want to read list. This is by Jenna Rose Nethercott, but it's kind of the same as Blackwood's Blue Sky, where it's like sort of a fairy tale, sort of a retelling, sort of a fantasy, and I'm just not sure if this is the book for me, but let's try a chapter of it. Waiting by Ha Jin, I believe, is a literary fiction. I don't know if this is young adult, but I think it's about a man who is in love with someone and he's not sure if they love them back. Oh, this is a cool bookmark that was in here. Histoire de Paris. Looks like it was from Paris. That's kind of cool and exciting. Let's find out if I want to read that. The Incendiaries, a novel by R.O. Hwan. I heard Books Past Bedtime say this was terrible, which made me think that I'm not going to want to read it, so that's why it's on this list. First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. Oh god, I think I started like the first 5 minutes of this. I think I read it on audio on like the preview. It just seems like a very straight, both in plot and theme and also in sexuality book that I just don't think I'm going to like. So I put it here. Salvation Day by Callie Wallace. This was an impulse buy at Goodwill, and this is a sci-fi. It says a lethal virus is awoken on an abandoned starship in this incredibly fast-paced claustrophobic thriller. That sounds cool. Will I ever read it? House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. This was a Goodwill purchase. I think this is about ghosts and young women and people working together. I've heard people really enjoy Crystal Sutherland, but it is YA, so we'll see if I like her. Cherry by Nico Walker. Love this cover. It's very, very cool, and you can see like the skull in there, which is neat. I think I thought this was another book when I picked it up, and I think this is not the kind of book that I would normally read. So let's try a chapter of it. The Angina Monologues by Rosamund Kendall. A novel about a country that I want to read from. It is about people living in Kazakhstan, maybe? So that part I thought was really interesting, but I hate the name of this, and I feel like this is just going to be a woman's fiction, which is not the kind of book that I normally like, but it just happens to be set in a different country or have people who are immigrants from a different country. So that part sounds interesting. The name sounds bad, so I don't know. We'll give it a try. Getting to the end of this stack, we have I'll Be Waiting by Kelly Armstrong. This is a fantasy novel. I think this one I got in a little free library. It's an ARC. This one does sound cool. I would like to try it. I just don't know if it's going to be for me. With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. Elizabeth Acevedo is a well-revered, well-loved YA author, and I think this one could be really interesting. It's about a young woman who wants to be a chef. That part sounds cool. I don't know if it's for me. Cobble Hill by Cecily von Zegazar. I guess this is the author of Gossip Girl. I didn't even realize that. I just picked it up because it's Cobble Hill, and I worked near Cobble Hill, and I just thought it would be cool, but I think this is like a women's fiction, so I don't know if I'll like it or not. I'm sorting these out into piles of 4. The Paleontologist by Luc Dumas, I've heard semi-good things about. I think this is like a horror. I just don't know if this one's gonna be for me either. The Dark Tide is a young adult novel. This was an impulse purchase at a library book sale, I think. This is by Elisa Jacinksa. I don't know, this one sounded interesting. Apparently this is a Australian author. I really like the cover, but it feels very early 2000s. So I don't know if this is going to be a book for me, and it's YA. The City of Balhan by Kevin Barry is a dystopian future book, I think, about maybe Ireland. I think this is an Irish author. Could be cool, but The Guide by Peter Heller is a thriller. Maybe we'll put this one and this one together. I've heard good things about Peter Heller. I've heard that he's very fast-paced, very fun. This has the Assateague Lighthouse. That's cool. From Assateague Island, Maryland, I believe that is. Or maybe it is North Carolina. The Daughters of Block Island was one that I picked up in a little free library. I love books set on islands. I love books set in shore towns. This is a gothic fiction thriller. Could be good. The Other Side of Night by Adam Hamdy. A lot of people love, but I never reach for, so I wanted to add this one. Every time I go on vacation, somebody dies by Catherine Mack. I was so excited to find at a little free library. I think I tried a sample of this one too, and I didn't really love it, but I need to try it again. Killers of a Certain Age. Again, I think I tried this one on audio and I just wasn't in the mood for it. I've never read any Diana Raybourn before. This is her tongue-in-cheek old person, septuagenarian, serial killer or mob killer novel. I mean, I might like it. The Year of Runaways just seemed interesting. This is by Sunjeev Sahota. This is, I think, like a family drama of people fleeing India. I don't know if this is young adult or not. Could be good. Bright Line by Tanvi Nandini Islam is, I believe, a woman's fiction about an orphan child, perhaps. Oh, you know why? She lives in Brooklyn. I think that's one of the reasons that I wanted to pick this up, and I think it's partially set in Brooklyn. The Danish Girl by David Ebershoff is about, I believe, a transgender person. I think that this book has been criticized a lot for being written by a cis author, so I do want to try it before I commit. The Angel of Greenwood, I think similarly, is a book that has something to do with Brooklyn, maybe, or maybe I just think it does because it has the name Greenwood in it, and Greenwood Cemetery is a cemetery that I love in Brooklyn. This is a young adult novel. 100 Cupboards, I might have read a long time ago. This is by N.D. Wilson. This is a middle grade book, and I think it's like a Portal World book. I think I actually got this from my mom, which is one of the reasons that I wanted to try it. Then I could give it back to her if I don't want to read it. The Face on the Milk Carton by Carolyn B. Clooney. Carolyn B. Clooney is a New Jersey author, and these are middle grade or young adult like thriller horrors. I got this one at my local restore. It's really just because of the Jersey aspect that I want to give it a try. And then finally we have The Club by Takis Verger. This is a, I think, like thriller or drama about rich people. That's not the kind of book that I like. This is translated from the German by Charlotte Collins. And I think the reason I picked it up was because I was hoping that it was like In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. So maybe it has those vibes. Like maybe it's going to be similar to that. I don't know, but we'll try it and see. Let's see what we got. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57. Okay, that is 57 books that I want to try a chapter of. I don't have my phone on me, so I cannot do the math of how many I would need to try to finish by the end of the year and how many videos I would need to put them in. But I want to try a chapter of all these books, and I think I should get started in this video by trying a chapter of at least a few of them. I will come back to you when I have tried a chapter of a couple of these books and let you know what I think of them and if I need to read them. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I read here. Let me know if there's any that I should absolutely prioritize. I will be making a spreadsheet with these so that I can see what the deal is, if I like them, if I got rid of them. So let me know your thoughts so that if I need to prioritize either trying a chapter or actually reading some of these, I can do that. When I try a chapter of a couple of these, I will come back to you. It is the next day, and I picked a stack of books last night from my 57 books to try a chapter of. I just finished reading like a genre book. I've just finished reading, what was it? My Heart is a Chainsaw. So I was in the mood for like a genre book. I was like, ooh, let me pick like a horror or sci-fi or something that would be like exciting the way that My Heart is a Chainsaw was, because that's kind of what I was in the mood for. So I was like, yeah, if I pick a stack of books like that, I will have better luck of maybe finding stuff that I like and maybe that I wanted to read immediately. I meant to say this earlier, but if you're unfamiliar with a try a chapter, it's just when you try a chapter or a few chapters or a few pages of a book to see if it's something that you want to read. A lot of people do this to pick their next read. A lot of people do this to gauge their interest in the book. Like they know they want to read it eventually, but maybe, you know, it's a 1 to 5 interest range, or maybe it's like a 5 to 10 interest range. And a lot of people do it like I am, which is to isolate books from your TBR that maybe you don't want anymore. So I don't usually read a whole chapter. Usually I know within the first couple of pages, or if I jump around a little, I'll know whether a book is like calling to me, speaking to me, if it's like something that is intriguing enough that I want to continue with it either right away or later, you know, that I want to make sure I keep on my shelves. The books that I tried, let's see, in the order that I tried them was Free Chocolate by Amber Royer. Contrary to what I just said, I did kind of think this one was interesting, and I did think, oh, I could probably continue with this one. So I read a little bit of the prologue, a page or two of that, and then I did start to read chapter 1 as well. And then I did skip around a little too, just to see like what the dialogue was like. Obviously only in the very beginning of the book. I don't want to spoil myself. And this one I was really on the fence about. It is about a young woman whose father works in a chocolate factory. This is a future space time where there are aliens and different people, and she goes to culinary school. Something happens in the prologue with her father, and then in chapter 1 we start to see her story. The whole thing kind of seems interesting, like the idea of a future time, a space time with aliens, I'm not opposed to. And then also the idea of chocolate being a commodity or a precious substance, I find interesting, right? But this was definitely very YA, and the few pages that I read, they were kind of like still doing the same things. It's a school setting, so if you're interested in YA that's a school setting, you might really like this. At least the beginning was school set. But ultimately, I decided to unhaul this one because it's very long. It's almost 450 pages long. It's YA, and it didn't grab my attention enough. The next book that I chose to try a chapter was Otaku, and this is by Chris Clue. And you know what I thought was interesting? This is a finished copy. This is an arc, this is an arc, and this is an arc, which I didn't even mean to do. This was the tour arc that I mentioned. This is an adult novel, but it read very YA, and we start out with A Visitor's Guide to the South Coast Protectorate by Global Travel LLC, and it's kind of like a pamphlet or something that you're getting. I read a couple of little bits of that, and then I read some of the first chapter, but right away there were like a lot of weird words, and there was a lot of, I don't know, just future things that just didn't get me, and the writing style right away was not intriguing me, so I definitely also decided to unhaul this one. Next, I tried Salvation Day by Kali Wallace. This is also an arc, and this is an intriguing premise as well. This is about a group of people, and it starts with like a security tape. So I read that entire security tape, and then I went to the first page and the first chapter, which is from the perspective of Zara, who is one of our main characters. This is about the sole survivor of a crash, and then later, many years later, 20 or so years later, a group of people who think they are entitled to take over that crash. Sounds super interesting. There's also like a virus or some kind of bio weapon involved. The blocks of text of these pages was like ridiculous. Like they're just big blocks of text, again with like kind of silly names and words and like future time things. I think the cult aspect of this would have been really interesting, and I think the idea of taking over a spaceship as your home theme, like a wrecked spaceship, is super intriguing to me. But overall, I was just not vibing with the writing of this book, so I decided to unhaul this one. The final book that I tried a chapter of is a little bit different. It's called I'll Be Waiting, and this is by Kelly Armstrong. This is another arc that I found in a little free library, and this starts out with chapter 1, and we're seeing our main character, what is her name? Nicola, and her husband Anton driving in a car, and they've just bought their first apartment in Canada. They're planning out their lives. They haven't been married long, but they're super in love, and Nicola has a chronic illness, so she's talking about how wonderful it is to have lived long enough to marry Anton, because her chronic illness often is fatal early on. And then something bad happens in that first chapter, and we jump to chapter 2, and we jump to 7 months later. And again, this one just like was not calling to me. I read a couple of the beginnings of the next several chapters, and they all started the exact same way, and it just felt very boring. Out of all the books that I tried, though, I think this one seemed the most interesting as far as it has a lot of dialogue, and even though it's on the longer side, it is wide margins, large font, it's 320 pages. I guess what happens is that our main character, according to the back, ends up catching the eye of spiritualists, and spiritualists start to come to her, and maybe she is able to see something or know something that spiritualists will be interested in, but I was just not interested in this book. So the first 4 books that we tried a chapter of are all going to be unhauls, which I'm pretty happy about. So that brings our unhaul total at the moment from 57 to 53. I think we did a pretty good job on our first try a chapter project video, and I'm super excited to try some more chapters. I think once I get in the habit of trying chapters, I really like it, but if I'm out of the habit, I find it difficult. Like I said, the one that I think was the most tempting to me was Free Chocolate, but I think passing these along to someone else who will enjoy them is more exciting to me than reading them myself. So let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned here, and let me know what you thought of them. Let me know if you think I'm absolutely wrong on some of these, or if you read them and you didn't like them and you think I'm absolutely right. I don't know when the next video like this will be, but it'll be coming to my channel in the not too distant future. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!